Hi folks, this is Jason. Hope you're okay. Don't forget to subscribe, and hope everybody's okay. We're looking at Kyle Butt MA, proof that does not prove by Apologetics Press. They have the copyright of these articles, so please respect their copyright. And but we're able to use them, so we just pray that you would find these a blessing. Proof that does not prove. The law of rationality insists that a person should accept only those propositions and ideas for which there is adequate evidence. This law of thought is so general and ubiquitous in its application that few people even realize they actually use it on a regular basis. For instance, if a man shows up at his office late for work with a torn shirt and a black eye, claiming that he was attacked by killer fairies from Sherwood Forest, the man's boss does not have to think very long before reprimanding the tardy employee. On the other hand, if an employee shows up claiming to have been in a car accident, and he bolstered his claim with evidence of a dent in his car and a police written ticket verifying that an automobile accident occurred, then the boss more likely would believe the employee. We see then that the law of rationality is used by most people on a regular basis. Sometimes, however, a certain idea or philosophy will present itself that does not have the adequate verifiable evidence necessary to demand acceptance. Because of this lack of evidence, the proponents of this idea appeal to certain proofs that on the surface seem to be legitimate, but in reality are not evidence at all. For example, suppose that a salesman is selling medallions that are supposed to keep elephants away from the owner of such a medallion. And suppose that salesman happens to be selling these amazing contraptions on the citizens of Alaska. When one suspicious customer asks if the medallions really work, the salesman replied, "Surely they work. You don't see an elephant within 100 miles of here, do you?" Looking at the salesman's statement, it is easy to see that something is amiss, but exactly what is it? In short, the salesman has committed a logical fallacy known as argumentum ad ignorantium. Argument from ignorance. The argument from ignorance basically says you cannot prove that by my elephant medallions are not the reason why there are no elephants here. The essence of this fallacy is the claim that a person accepts a proposition because it cannot be proven untrue. The problem with this line of reasoning is that it does not present any positive proof, therefore in reality it presents no proof. The above example is just one of the plethora of logical fallacies appealed to as proofs that in reality offer no proof at all. The primary logical fallacy with which the remainder of this article will deal now as argument ad verecundium appeal to authority. This faulty line of reasoning suggests that a certain idea or proposition should be accepted because of all authorities accept it. And while it is true that the legitimate authorities can be trusted to supply real evidence, it is not true that a person should accept a conclusion solely because an authority says that is such the case without the authority giving proper evidence for the conclusion. One classical biblical example of a faulty appeal to authority is found in John 7, verse 32. Jesus had defied the Jewish leaders of to such an extent that they commissioned officers to take him by force. The officers, however, after listening to Jesus teach boldly, returned to the chief priests and the Pharisees without apprehending him. And when asked why they did not arrest Jesus, the officers stated, no man ever spoke like this man. They were in essence making the argument that Jesus should have not been arrested because he spoke things that no ordinary man could have known or spoken. Yet instead of dealing with the actual evidence of the case, the things Jesus actually said, the Pharisees made a false appeal to authority when they said, "Are you also deceived? Have any of the rulers of the Pharisees believed in him? But this crowd that does not know the law is cursed." Notice that the Pharisees did not expound on the parts of the law that Jesus allegedly was breaking, nor did they offer any rebuttal to Christ's statement. Instead, they proved their argument by suggesting, "We know more than you, and this our ignorant crowd, therefore you should believe what we tell you, even without proper evidence." After being made aware of the logical fallacy of an appeal to false authority, it is evident that these Jewish leaders were guilty of offering proof that proved nothing. Even today, the false appeal to authority is a common ploy used to bolster ideas and conclusions that lack sufficient evidence. The logical fallacy finds a welcome seat in the table of many books and papers that purport to prove the theory of organic evolution. The following sample of statements goes a long way towards showing how the appeal to authority without supporting evidence is used in evolutionary circles. Richard Dawkins wrote, "It is obviously safe to say that if you meet somebody who claims not to believe in evolution, that person is ignorant, stupid, or insane, or wicked, but I'd rather not consider that." B.B. Vance and Dr. Miller, equipped all reputable biologists, have agreed that evolution of life on Earth is an established fact. Next, Richard Goldschmidt declared evolution of the animal and plant world is considered by all those entitled to a judgment to be a fact for which no further proof is needed. As one can see, statements that purport to show that all reputable biologists believe or what all those entitled to a judgment say are clearly designed to appeal to a sense of intellectual authority for which supporting evidence is not deemed necessary. In fact, J. Savage, on record as stating no serious biologist today, quote, today doubts the fact of evolution. The fact of evolution is amply clear. We do not need a listing of evidence to demonstrate the fact of evolution any more than we need to demonstrate the existence of mountain ranges. Quote. End of quote. Of course, showing that the intellectual elite sometimes use the logical fallacy of appealing to a false authority in their attempt to prove evolution does not disprove the theory of evolution. It does, however, manifest the fact that this proof of the theory frequently is offered instead of actual evidence. That can be demonstrated quite clearly in my own experience when you look at Dawkins' book, The Greatest Show on Earth, which is about evolution. It's amazing to find that only in the last part of his career has he decided to write some evidence for evolution. Yet he'd been lecturing on evolution and talking on evolution for many, many years, but never thought once to give any evidence for it. So this writer's correct. As one can see, of course, showing that the intellectual elite sometimes use the logical fallacy of appealing to false authority in their attempt to prove evolution does not disprove the theory of evolution. It does, however, manifest the fact that this proof of the theory frequently is offered instead of actual evidence. So we'll leave it there, and what do you think? Let us know your thoughts. Take care now. God bless.